Hello, let's see if Linux Wine can run the game Need for Speed 4 High Stakes from the year 1999. This is the wiki page of the game. Let's install Wine. This is the Linux operating system, Ubuntu 25.10. And then let's install the game and see if it works. The game is pretty old. The Linux operating system and Wine is pretty new. There's a 27 years difference. Hopefully it just works. Okay, Wine will depend on many 32-bit libraries. Thank you for subscribing, joining and helping this YouTube channel. Wine has finished installing. Let's start Wine. This is the directory where I have unzipped the ISO, the installer for Need for Speed 4, the game. Let's see how we're going to tackle this. We could either start Wine and then as parameter we give it the executable of the installer. So the executable should probably have extension exe and not have underscore in the name. So it's probably this file setup.exe. So that would be Wine and then mind the casing. So Linux is case sensitive. Either like this, or let's see if we can start a file manager inside Wine, and from there we're going to be able to probably also see the icons of the executables. Let's see. So Wine, that's a possibility. I'm trying to open Windows Explorer, Wine Explorer, the file manager, and that did work. Let's navigate. So this is how it looks like. I have navigated using the Wine Explorer, so the file manager, but probably also the desktop shell. That's the way in Windows Windows File Explorer works. It's both the shell, so the desktop, where you can, for instance, set a wallpaper or put icons, but also a standalone graphical user interface application, the file manager. So I have navigated to Z colon and then to this directory. So /home /n/work/w/nfs4. In here we can see for the executables, we can see icons. Let's try, I don't know, auto run. Probably not. Setup. Oh, something did happen. Select the choice below. English. This game only runs under Windows 95 or 98. So we're going to need to configure Wine in such a way that it reports to the application that Wine runs that Wine is actually the operating system Windows 98. There's a graphical user interface tool named Wine CFG. Let's run it. And let's see what's in here. So it's reporting that the Windows version is Windows 10. And I'm not sure if the prefix is for 32-bit Wine or a mixed 64-bit and 32-bit one. Let's see where we can find that thing. Yeah, we're going to try to just change to Windows 98. And if it works, okay. If not, we're going to recreate the entire prefix. So the prefix was created when I have run the first command line that started with wine. So I went to wine space explorer. And then because I didn't have any wine prefix in my home directory, a graphical user interface dialog appeared while it created the directory ~/.wine. So let's try again. How do we do that? Probably we also need to restart the Explorer application. So let's see, Wine Explorer, and then let's background the thing or not. Okay, and I'm going to navigate back to this directory. So I'm back in the correct directory. I'm going to sort by type to have all of the exe files near each other. Last time I have run auto-run.exe. Let's see if we get to the same place. So a installer wizard has started. We can choose the language between English and Spanish. Okay. This game must be installed off the CD. So this is a CD protection. You must have a hardware CD-ROM drive and have the actual CD put in there. So let's mount the ISO file that we have, which is the content of the actual CD-ROM, as a so we're going to mount it inside Linux, and then we're going to use WineCFG to create a Windows style drive that will look like a actual hardware CD-ROM drive inside Wine, so for the applications that Wine runs. So let's see an example of how to do it. Let's create a directory where to mount the ISO. Somewhere. Let's mount loop type and the full path to the ISO, Ctrl+Alt+C, and where mounted read-only. Okay. And now let's run WineCFG and configure the drives. It seems to automatically detect and present as drive f:/tmp/winecd. Let's see if it's actually a CD-ROM. Yes, type CD-ROM. So it should just work. Okay, so let's do this again. We're going to start using Wine, the application explorer. And we're going to navigate to the f:/drive, this thing. Sort by type, go to autorun.exe. English. Next. Microsoft software. Okay, next. Typical. It's going to add entries to the Windows Start menu. I don't want a shortcut. I don't know, yes. Setup is complete. Register later. I have navigated using Wine Explorer to the desktop. There's two files in here, a Linux style .desktop file, so file with extension desktop, and a file that's probably Windows style shortcut. So let's just double click on the shortcut one. I'm going to try to run it from the C:" drive. Program files x86, Electronic Arts, Need for Speed High Stakes. Probably this one, nfs hs.exe. And the same error, the wine debugger, winedbg starts. We might want to check the application database. A web browser starts, it navigates to appdb.winehq.org. And let's do what it suggests. Let's search for this game in this database. I searched Need for Speed High Stakes. There's two entries there. Need for Speed 4 and version 4.50. And both ratings are gold. Or not. Okay, so some patching is going to be required. It's just one review, so Need for Speed 4 High Stakes, the name of the game, and then version 450. And it's tried with Wine version 5.0. Wow. I'll try to implement the fix that's noted here, and we'll see. The instructions say that I should create a directory under C:, and with Wine Space Explorer. I don't find a way to create directories. There's no main menu. There's no actions in the main toolbar to create directories. Nothing in the context menu. I have started the sibling application. So one is Wine Space Explorer and the other one is Wine File. Okay, this one identifies itself as Wine File Manager. Let's do the same thing. Go to C:, and try to create a new directory. From the context menu, I don't find a way to create a new directory. Create link. In the main menu, I don't find anything about creating directories. So I'm going to do the file system operations inside the Linux. Hopefully it's going to be okay. I have applied all of the necessary recommended changes. Let's see if the game will run. Let's see if Wine is configured to show a desktop. Where is that setting? I am trying this setting. So in Wine CFG, in the tab Graphics, I have enabled the checkbox Emulate a virtual desktop 800 by 600. Apply OK. Now that the directory is prepared, so C:/games/nfs4, Let's open the Windows File Explorer, so explorer.exe using Wine. Let's navigate to the correct directory, /games nfs4, and we're using the Wine desktop, so we're not running the game in full screen mode. Let's see if this works. And we should just double click on nfs4.exe. And it works. And it has captured my mouse. I'm not sure how to exit the grab. So I have exited because it grabbed my mouse, and I don't know how to exit the mouse grab. I want to have the mouse not be grabbed when a game is running in full screen mode. Let's see if that's possible just by running Wine CFG, the graphical user interface application that allows configuring some of the settings inside Wine. So that's in graphics, automatically capture the mouse in full screen windows, and this is disabled, yet it's still grabbing still takes place. Yeah, let's try to play a bit the game with mouse grabbing. So usually when you just install Wine and then want to play a game inside Wine, you're not actually using the Wine desktop, which means you're running just the application. You don't see the Wine desktop, you don't see the Wine desktop background and the desktop icons. And if you start the game will just try to full screen itself and it will succeed. Everything will be great. But I am putting an extra hurdle in here because I really want to use the Wine desktop for recording purposes. We're doing a recording of my screen, and I do not want the game to take the entirety of my screen. So if it can live inside a window, then that's just great. So what I needed to do actually is to install GameScope. So I'm on a Linux operating system, Kubuntu 25.10. I am using the desktop environment KDE Plasma, but the X11 session, not the Wayland session. I have installed GameScope, just apt install GameScope in my case. And then I have read the help file of the help of GameScope, and I needed to prepare an incantation, a command line for GameScope, and the command line that I came up with is like this. I'm trying to use a resolution that's available inside the game Need for Speed, which is this one, 960 height by 1280 width. If I'm not using the command line parameter -force -grab -cursor, I will have two cursors, both the cursor inside the game, so from NFS4, but also the cursor from my desktop environment. And then after --, you specify a command line. In this case, because we're in the correct directory, we can just go wine and then nfs4.exe. So again, the incantation, GameScope space minus uppercase W. There's two W's, one for the width of the game and then one for the desired output width. Because I'm using GameScope just to do scaling. If somehow Wine would have allowed me to just scale the full screen game running inside the Wine desktop 2 times, I wouldn't have needed GameScope, but I couldn't manage to do it otherwise than using GameScope. And then minus uppercase H960, minus minus force minus grab minus cursor, and then minus minus, and the full command line wine nfs4.exe. This is the Wine desktop, and now the game has started and the game is running full screen, which means that it has actually scaled way lower than the resolution that I have selected for the Wine desktop. Let's go a bit there. Wine CFG. I have selected the same resolution everywhere, so 1280 by 960, both for the Wine desktop and for the output of GameScope and for the desired game resolution. So this is where I have set it in Wine CFG, the tab graphics, desktop size, 1280 by 960. You saw that I have selected this exact same resolution in the GameScope with the desired width and desired height output. And then when the application starts, it grabs my mouse, but I can ungrab it by pressing the Windows key, which actually starts the KDE Plasma start menu. So the moment that I enter with the mouse inside the window, I cannot escape. So a mouse grab happens. But then if I'm pressing the Windows key on my keyboard, the KDE Plasma main menu is the start menu is being shown, and I can exit the grab. Okay, so let's try to move the window. And let's play a bit. The sound is at a humongous volume by default. And even if you set the sound options, you still have two places where the sound is incredibly loud. When the application starts first time in the splash screen, and then when a demo starts if you're not active, so probably as sort of a screensaver. So let's go to the sound settings first, options, audio, and I have decreased all of these massively. And then at graphics, I have selected the same resolution, so 1280 by 960. I cannot prove that this resolution is actually applied. Seems to be way smaller than this. So probably because the combination of X11, Wine Desktop, and a very old game, the game doesn't manage to switch. So the game manages to enter full screen mode, but then maybe it doesn't manage to switch the resolution of the full screen from the default, which is, I know, probably this one, 640 by 480, 16 colors, to something larger. I cannot prove that any of these settings actually does anything. Okay, so let's finally try to play this thing. Single player arcade, single race, player one. Player car. Let's see the cars. Okay. Celtic Ruins. Landstrasse. What are these? Damage on, wow. I have no clue how to play this game, so I'll be out of the game in a matter of seconds. Press escape to abort. Up arrow key. Acceleration, probably. Left, right arrow keys to move the steering wheel. Woohoo! Let's see the controllers. So left, right, up and down. You should use the brake when you will not be able to control the machine, the car. And also handbrake with space. Yeah, probably a controller for racing games and simulations would be the best thing to have in here. How do we return? Ooh. I have never known how to play in this game. You should probably use two hands. It reverses. Back arrow key actually reverses. Yeah, so this is it. It respects the evaluation on the AppDB inside Wine. The game actually is a gold. Everything totally works. Sound, full screen. You can select different cars, different tracks. Let's quit into the main menu. The career play works. Everything is there. So the game fully and completely works correctly inside the current version of Wine. It also did work correctly in Wine version 5. So this is it. It wasn't that easy for me to accomplish it, but then I tried everything. So I tried just vanilla Wine on my Linux operating system. I have tried to run from the extracted ISO. It complained that it doesn't have a CD-ROM drive. I have mounted the ISO and I have installed from there, but then it crashed in various ways. I should have had the newest patch for the game, and then I didn't know how to get that, but when the Wine application has crashed, Wine DBG has started, the default debugger, and it suggested that I go to the Wine App database. I went there, searched for this exact game, got just a single review of type gold, so it should work perfectly, but then with some instructions that I should follow. So I followed the instructions, and then I could just run the game. But then I made everything more complicated by not using the default way Windows, the default way Wine runs, but I actually wanted the Wine desktop. So this is it, a game that was the best racing game in the year 2000. It ran correctly on Windows 98 second edition, and now it continues to run correctly 27 years later in Wine Linux. Thank you.